In the shadowed corridors of Chase Center, where the echoes of past championships still hum like a sacred chant, the Golden State Warriors stand at a crossroads heavier with uncertainty than any offseason before. This is the crucible moment. That could either reignite their dynasty or fracture the very foundation of Dub Nation forever. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Last season's narrative was scripted with grit and vow, a testament that even an aging core can dance with the NBA's fiercest when armed with the pulse of a clutch superstar like Stephen Curry and the midseason infusion of Jimmy Butler, who sparked a 23-9 surge post-trade deadline and a gutsy upset over the Houston Rockets that reminded us all of that unyielding championship DNA still nested deep within the Bay. But that March crescendo crashed brutally into reality when Curry's hamstring succumbed, cutting short a playoff run that hinted at the Warriors' enduring relevance like an echo from the Splash era whispering, "We still belong." Yet here we are, more than halfway through a pivotal 2025 offseason that refuses to yield to momentum, with the Dubs conspicuously silent except for adding rookies, Alex Tui and Will Richard talented enough but unlikely to tip the competitive balance in a conference tightening its noose around Golden State's neck. And now, ripple by ripple, two seismic moves have emerged not just as possibilities, but as absolute imperatives to complete this all-season puzzle. First, closing the murky saga of Jonathan Kuminga, and second, finally locking in the long-overdue signing of veteran center Al Horford. The Kuminga story? It's a tense standoff that feels ripped from a high-stakes thriller, both parties gauging who blinks first, the young forward and the front office caught in a tangled web of expectation versus system fit. Warriors brass clearly recognizes Kuminga's tantalizing talent, 22 years old, explosive, a player who ignites when he commands the rock and slashes with an almost primal confidence. But the fit is fractured on a molecular level. The Warriors' DNA revolves around a Curry-centric, motion-heavy offense demanding players who instinctively read the floor and flow within a complex symphonic ballet. Kuminga, with all his dynamism and raw athleticism, doesn't yet possess that nuanced cadence. His bursts of brilliance often clash with the fluid, off-ball movement that defines Golden State. Yet even more telling is Kuminga himself, the young star hungry for a career trajectory far loftier than the constrained role the Warriors can realistically offer while Curry reigns supreme. The cap complications and restricted free agency chains his fate tightly to Golden State's ledger leverage tilting heavily towards the Warriors, given the lack of juicy offer sheets from outside suitors. The Dubs reported 2-year, $45 million offer sits on the table, yet Kuminga has declined, signaling a mutual impasse that stalls all other off-season machinations. No ripples without solving this title surge first. But here's the under-the-radar bomb no one saw coming. Sacramento Kings remain eager to court Kuminga via sign-in trade, dangling a package of Devin Carter, Dario Saric, and 2 second-round picks, yet Golden State's front office dismiss it outright, unwilling to lower their valuation on a talent they once drafted with high hopes. This standoff isn't mere contract haggling. It's a narrative bottleneck threatening to choke the Warriors' all-season rhythm. Could this tension finally explode, forcing a trade that reshapes both franchises? Or will Kuminga relent and re-enter the fray under Golden State's terms, setting the stage for a return to harmony or renewed discord as October dawns? Parallel to this is the equally pressing necessity of securing Al Horford's signature, a move as critical as it is inevitable, whispered across NBA circles, like a foregone conclusion yet delayed with agonizing suspense. Horford, now 39 years old but as sharp and cerebral as ever, stands ready to infuse the Warriors' frontcourt with the rare blend of veteran savvy, defensive prowess, and floor-spacing shooting they desperately need after losing Kevin Looney to the New Orleans Pelicans. No longer a side note, Horford emerges as the unlikely cornerstone of Golden State's interior blueprint, a stabilizing force who can anchor defense without overtaxing a front line that otherwise looks skeletal. Remember, deploying Draymond Green at center full-time is a luxury neither the team nor the man's body can afford at this juncture, which means Horford's arrival isn't just a signing. It's a strategic pivot to preserve Green's longevity and maintain the delicate balance that drove 3 championships in the past decade. Horford brings a fresh but familiar breath of wisdom to a system that has seldom featured a big man capable of stretching the floor and disrupting opponents on both ends with equal impact in the Curry era. It's almost poetic a bridge between the Warriors' golden past and a future fraught with questions. Once the Kuminga conundrum is solved, expect the Horford signing to cascade swiftly, signaling a final piece clicking into place on what remains a vulnerable but electric roster. But what does all this mean for Dub Nation's soul? This offseason isn't just a matter of contracts and cap space. It's a defining moment dripping with the same high-stakes drama that shaped the Splash Brothers' rise and Draymond Green's fiery emergence. It's the kind of watershed moment that once made us chant "We Believe," rallying against impossible odds with hearts on fire and voices united. Now, facing an aging core and a league morphing faster than ever, are the Warriors standing on the cusp of a renaissance? Or is this simmering Kuminga saga and the slow dance for Horford to cracks beginning to split the dynasty's foundation? It's the kind of question that keeps every die-hard fan restless deep into the night, tugging at the threads of hope and fear, knowing full well that the next moves made in Bay Area boardrooms and on training floors will either spark the next golden chapter or signal a painful unraveling. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, watching the tension brew, feeling the weight of history pressing down on these final steps. But is this the ignition point for our next title run or the crack that splits our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If you felt your chest tighten reading about Kuminga's contract standoff and Horford's slow dance with destiny, slam your fist against the screen and say it loud. This offseason is a pressure cooker about to blow. Because Dub Nation, listen this, isn't just about dollars or minutes. It's about identity, legacy, and the thin, fragile thread holding together a dynasty that's been the NBA's heartbeat for over a decade. Imagine the weight on Steve Kerr's shoulders right now, the mastermind who's balanced egos, futures, and fractured bones, all in a quest to keep that Steph-led juggernaut humming. The locker room whispers are growing louder. Curry's still the irreplaceable nucleus, a man who's made from another planet shooting, and clutch DNA draws defenders into orbit. Yet even the greatest forces need fuel and structure. And Kuminga? He's the wild card, a volatile blend of raw thunder and lightning flashes that refuse to be cagey, too much talent to waste, too much tension to ignore. His refusal to sign the Dubs' offer is more than a contract dispute. It's a declaration that he seeks his own storyline, one that might not fit the Warriors' script. Could this be the moment when the franchise has to choose? Bend the narrative to a young star's will, or hold the line and risk fracturing the brotherhood? What if Kuminga walks away, pushed out by stubborn pride or cap mechanics, and the ripple takes out the fragile equilibrium between the vets and the youth? Even Moody and Wiggins, those dynamic role players who've carved out spots in the system, must be watching closely, knowing any imbalance here threatens their own chances, their own place in the rotation. Meanwhile, on the sidelines, the Horford saga simmers like a slow bleed wound. The urgency couldn't be higher, right? Kevin Looney's exit to New Orleans wasn't just a roster vacancy. It was a seismic loss of a Swiss Army knife big who shaped Golden State's defensive identity. Draymond Green's body is a living ledger of sacrifices, and pushing him into a center-heavy role full-time is a gamble on his durability and sanity. Neither a winning bet nor a sustainable plan. Enter Horford, wise, steady, a cerebral chess player with enough left in the tank to stretch the floor and guard multiple positions. Signing him isn't merely filling a spot. It's redefining the front court blueprint, preserving Green's health, and adding a layer of seasoned calm that the young blood plus Splash Brothers formula desperately needs. Yet here's the twist in the tale despite whispers that the deal is all but done. Nothing has been finalized, and that lag feeds speculation that maybe there are deeper concerns. Is it about money, lingering questions about Horford's age, or maybe internal debates on whether he's truly the piece to bridge the old guard with the new wave? Could this hesitation be an ominous sign that the front office's confidence is shaken, that the once unstoppable Golden State machine is wrestling with the ruthless calculus of relevance in an NBA evolving faster than their signature playbook? Remember, the Western Conference isn't giving mercy. The Suns have fortified around a ruthless Devin Booker and an ascending Cade Cunningham. The Mavericks doubled down on Luka's brilliance. Even teams like the Timberwolves and Clippers have recalibrated to challenge any veteran dynasty resting on its laurels. From 5 straight finals and 3 championships to this unsettled silence, this wait-and-see vibe at Chase Center can feel unsettling, even heartbreaking. Inevitably, all eyes have shifted to the man whose name is synonymous with Warriors' greatness, Stephen Curry. The weight on Steph's back is Herculean, to carry an aging team on his scorched earth shooting, to mentor the younger guys who are at war with their fates, to wrestle with the ghosts of injury, and to do it all under the scrutiny of a fan base starved for glory yet terrified of decline. What if this all-season drag isn't inertia, but a pressure build that will forge a new, even more ferocious version of the Splash Brothers era? Or what if this is where the dynasty finally fractures, not with a bang, but a cascade of shrugs, the slow erosion of dominance no one fully saw coming? Imagine the emotional toll in that locker room, where the drive and chaotic energy that once fueled impossible comebacks is dampened by contract impasses and looming questions about the team's direction. Draymond's fiery spirit, once a galvanizing force, has to simmer with mounting frustration over the roster's uncertainty and the relentless pressure to be the emotional and defensive anchor. Meanwhile, younger players like Kuminga feel caught in a twilight zone, on the brink of breakout stardom, but tethered to a system that demands sacrifice and patience while their peers and other teams explode on national stages. This is more than basketball. It's a narrative battlefield. The front office knows that a bad move or a misread could turn today's lineup into tomorrow's cautionary tale. The silence from the brass about future roster shakeups, no blockbuster trades. No. Headline-grabbing signings beyond the rookies, and that dangling Horford deal is deafening. This quiet is not peace. It is the calm before a storm that could split the fan base between hope and despair. Yet, there is a pulse in the Bay that refuses to fade a stubborn belief etched into every splash heard around the world. That the Warriors' story isn't done. There's a sense that when the Kuminga chapter closes, whether with a handshake, a trade, or a dramatic showdown, and Horford finally lands in a Warriors jersey, the pieces will fall into place for a push that could stun the league. And if that moment arrives, carrying the echoes of past banners and the prayers of a community craving revival, what legends will rise from this crucible? Can Steph conjure magic beyond the limits of age? Will Draymond find fuel for one more fiery run? Could Kuminga break free of his chains and become the breakout star Dub Nation always hoped he'd be? The answers are tangled in the very spirit of these swirling tensions, unfinished business, fragile hopes, and the relentless drive to keep a dynasty from slipping quietly into history. As someone who has bled blue and gold through every heart-stopping buzzer beater, every soul-crushing injury, every parade down Market Street, I can feel it. The electricity of a storm about to erupt, or the quiet crack of a dynasty bending under its own weight. This moment demands our passion as much as it demands our patience. The next roster moves, the locker room chemistry, the choices behind the scenes will ripple across the next era of Warriors basketball. So I'm calling on you, drop your rawest, hottest takes right now. You think Kuminga walks? Horford is the missing piece. Curry's twilight is looming, or just the dawn of a new legend. No filter, no holding back, I'm diving into every comment, every theory, every fiery opinion. Dub Nation, it's time to roar.